Homage to fundamental teacher Buddha, Shakyamuni. Homage to wisdom, warrior, Manjushri. Homage to all lineage, benevolent masters. The Dharma, infinitely profound and subtle, is rarely encountered even in 1,000,000 eons. Now we are able to hear, study, and follow it. May we fully realize Tathagata's true meaning in order to liberate all sentient beings from samsara, generate supreme bodhicitta. Next we discuss the infallibility of cause and effect from the words of my perfect teacher. In the infallibility of cause and effect, today's third topic is that everything is the nature of karma. This section is also very important. Many of us study Buddhism and take refuge in Buddhism, and for many years consider ourselves Buddhists. But when truly using our wisdom to examine our minds, some people may not even have the right view of cause and effect. They are half believing and half doubting about the principle that good brings good results and evil brings evil results. Then they have no motivation to practice virtue. This is also caused by this kind of view that doesn't believe in cause and effect. So regarding the principle of the infallibility of cause and effect, we normally research, contemplate, and finally familiarize ourselves with it in our continuum. If we don't do this, I see many Buddhists indeed superficially get a refuge certificate, superficially rely on a guru, superficially read books, superficially uphold some precepts, but from within their hearts they don't possess the right view of cause and effect. This is a particularly big problem, I think all of you here present, since you all have confidence in Buddhism, having gained this confidence, never remain in a state of superstition. Now, whether in Tibet or China, there are quite a few people who are superstitious. Buddhism is not superstition. Buddhist doctrine is indeed absolutely true. This is without doubt, but among our followers. Some don't understand correct reasoning, some haven't contemplated at all. In this way, your view contains elements of wrong views, your faith contains elements of superstition, so this kind of mentality, when encountering some bad environments or meeting some bad friends in such situations, will change color. Just like when a product we buy has poor quality, it fades in the rain or deteriorates after long use. What is most fundamental for us Buddhists? It is to truly feel Buddhist doctrine from within our hearts. I have emphasized this point to everyone repeatedly. This is also my own experience, accumulated through many years of practice. I feel that from external appearance or image, it doesn't really work. But if you truly embrace Mahayana Buddhist doctrine or any principle within our Buddhism, from within your heart, when your mind merges with its teachings at this time, you truly obtain the truth, more precious than any money, more precious than any wealth. For a person, if they truly possess the wish-fulfilling jewel of right view for them, even being penniless feels very wealthy. Regarding this aspect, we have repeatedly emphasized what is most needed now is studying Dharma, contemplating Dharma, and then familiarizing ourselves with it, practicing. In this way, no matter what kind of obstacles or hindrances you encounter, your faith and wisdom will fundamentally never decline. Is this kind of non-decline very meaningful and valuable? Indeed it is. If our faith and right view are a mentality that doesn't conform to actual truth, then it's nothing if they decline. In the world, there are various kinds of theories and thoughts. Some thoughts are a kind of inverted, mistaken views. These views, whether for human life or people's happiness in this life and future lives, don't have much relationship. But the truths and thoughts emphasized in Buddhism indeed for life after life have immeasurable meaning for any sentient being. So regarding karmic cause and effect, we will later discuss relying on spiritual teachers and so forth. These contents, I believe, for every one of us Buddhists, we absolutely cannot ignore them or belittle them. If you belittle them and go seek another Dharma, of course for very few people with sharp faculties, it might be beneficial. But for us, like myself, or like some of you ordinary people, it's indeed like abandoning the root while seeking branches. It doesn't have much meaning. Of course, personally, I have great confidence in profound teachings like Dzogchen and Mahamudra. I myself previously relied on the compassionate guidance of Guru Rinpoche, and when I was young, in different places I received teachings in these areas. I've always kept them in my heart like wish-fulfilling jewels whenever I have time. I always practice them. I must also admit that indeed profound Dharma is very important. It's not that we should forever remain in ordinary preliminaries or some sutra teachings, that's not what I mean. But the prerequisite for receiving such dharma is that basic views of cause and effect and foundations of study and contemplation must be well established. Everyone must understand this point. We now continue discussing everything is the nature of karma. What does this mean? Whether our happiness or suffering, the many, many things that happen in each person's life have a certain relationship with the karma of past and present lives. But Buddhism also doesn't believe that all things are entirely controlled by some predetermined karma from past lives. That's not what it means. Of course, the main cause of our past life karma, plus some behaviors in this life, including their motivation and some conditions, will also become contributing conditions. When we discussed causes and conditions in the treasury of Abhidharma regarding this aspect, I think many Dharma friends should remember clearly. Today's content we're discussing is to know that much of what happens in this life is related to karma from past lives, from the highest peak down to the lowest level of Avici Hell. All sentient beings each experience inconceivable, vastly different suffering and happiness. We all know that even among humans, among brothers and sisters in one family, some are particularly happy, some are very miserable, some are mediocre, living ordinary, bland lives, the animals before our eyes, or the beings we can't see in hell realms, hungry ghost realms, and celestial realms. Each being's experiences are countless, vastly different, inconceivable. These actually all originate from each one's past, accumulated negative karma or positive karma, having an inseparable relationship. This point must be clearly understood. We know that our happiness in this life, why some people effortlessly have food, clothing, talent, all kinds of virtues are completely present. Some people struggle and work hard from childhood, but in the end gain nothing. Everything is suffering. They get nothing but suffering. Why is this? They're all equally human, equally born into a human group. Coming to this world is also the same. But why are each person's conditions different? This has a certain relationship with our past life karma. So the Buddha in the Sutra of 100 Actions also spoke very clearly. The suffering and happiness of sentient beings, the Buddha said, arise from karma. Our suffering and happiness, the greatly compassionate Buddha with non-dual wisdom determined saying, this is created by sentient beings' past life karma, appearing from karma. Various karmas also create various sentient beings. Wandering in samsara, the web of karma is extremely vast. These karmas are actually various kinds. I see that the karma created by each sentient being is completely different. Some are driven by greed, anger, ignorance, jealousy, and pride. Under the influence of various afflictions, they begin creating karma daily. Some act with faith, compassion, wisdom, renunciation, and other virtuous minds. Some people sometimes do good deeds, sometimes do evil deeds with various alternations, or what we call mixed karma, creating such karma. So the karma created by sentient beings is various. If karma is various, the suffering and happiness of sentient beings produced from karma is also like this. The sentient beings brought about this way are also various. Each of us Dharma friends here present is of various kinds. Some are truly very happy, have been since childhood. I've mentioned this before. Like Shabka Tsokdruk Rangdrol throughout his life, his practice never encountered any obstacles, very smooth, very happy, and his activities benefiting sentient beings were also extremely vast, while some, in appearance, have still suffered much. Some people truly from childhood until now. Their bodies are not well, their moods are not good, their emotions are not good. Not to mention others among our current group listening to teachings, monastics and lay practitioners. In my impression, some people are very miserable every day. They are sorrowful and distressed. What to do? Their bodies are also not well. Their heads hurt, their hearts hurt, very itchy. Various kinds of suffering appear. Some people have all kinds of suffering. They can't eat well, can't dress well. Their complexion is poor. Their hearts are also. Even when walking, they often fall on the road, thinking that even stones are bullying you. Some people have everything go smoothly and happily. This is karma. Because of this, there are happy sentient beings, suffering sentient beings, and ordinary sentient beings. These are all karma from past lives. So in endless samsara, indeed, this web of karma is extremely vast. Worldly people think that current satellites and internet seem to cover the entire globe, very vast, but actually this is not necessarily so. They can only radiate to places where there is some equipment, but all the oceans, space, including every realm of sentient beings, it's impossible to pervade. So this web of karma is extremely vast. I remember it seems to be mentioned in the Sutra of the Right Mindfulness of Dharma, transforming infinite webs of karma, seeds of various minds. Mind accumulates karma, difficult to know except for all Tathagatas. The meaning is that transforming infinite webs of karma is actually caused by seeds of the mind. Karma is created by the different minds of sentient beings. Mind accumulates karma, karma appears, creating the entire variegated world. All-inclusive sentient beings, various kinds of beings are created. But the very subtle conditions that are created we, ordinary beings, cannot understand. Even Shravakas, Arhats and Bodhisattvas cannot completely and thoroughly understand. Only the Buddha who has eliminated all afflictive and cognitive obscurations clearly knows. So sometimes in this world we can't help but think indeed the web of karma is very vast. Only the Buddha knows how sentient beings' karma is formed. We ordinary beings will absolutely never know. Therefore, regarding the profound issues of karmic cause and effect, I hope very few of us will easily make assertions or draw conclusions. This is a particularly ignorant behavior. You think, creating negative karma has no karmic results. Creating virtuous karma also brings no happiness. Such statements are your own conceptual thoughts, your own physical eyes haven't seen. Making such assertions is actually a kind of slander and also an ignorant mind. Some people, although they currently hold power, have prominent status and possess many resources, but when the time of death arrives, all of this cannot accompany them. Although some have money, talent, everything, all kinds of things. Cars, houses, wealth, everything. But after a human life of several decades, when you leave all of these, all wealth, everything cannot follow you. Only the virtuous or negative karma you accumulated in this life closely follows you, leading you into the higher or lower realms of samsara. If you previously created virtuous karma that follows you, only following you, you will go to happy places. But if you previously didn't create virtuous karma and created negative karma, then you can only fall into hell, hungry ghost, and animal realms. So the Buddha, in the Sutra of Instructions to the King, also taught this way. When a king approaches death, wealth and relatives do not follow. Wherever a person may go, karma follows closely, like a shadow. At that time it was an instruction to the king. He said, "King, when you die, no matter how much wealth you have, no matter how many relatives, friends and retinue, they cannot accompany you. Not even bringing one person, one minister is possible. Whether a country's president or UN Secretary General, any person, when you leave, how many people can accompany them? It's impossible. Even one's own body, that was lovingly cared for with great effort, is also left behind in the world, while one's self, driven by karmic forces, goes toward the long path of the intermediate state. So, at that time, your karma, the karma you previously created, just like when we walk. Sometimes, although invisible, but your shadow always follows you inseparably, closely following behind you. This point is also taught in the sutras. All relatives separate, only karma does not abandon. Relatives and family will all leave, only karma will not abandon you. Good and evil in future lives, always following and pursuing. Good and evil in your future life, after life, will always follow you, pursue you, never separate. Now, because many people, when they come to this world is a dark world. Your relatives and friends around you are all people who hold wrong views, and you yourself don't have an independent right view due to environmental influence and the influence of your relatives, friends, and family. When you come to this world, you become a person who holds wrong views, occasionally through past life conditions and the Buddha's blessings. When various conditions come together, although in your continuum, like lightning, there is some faith and wisdom, but it's easily obscured by the dark cloud clouds of wrong knowledge and wrong views around you. So we people here present should often examine ourselves with right knowledge and right view. Otherwise, don't think, I've never believed in this stuff since childhood. If later you truly follow the influence of outsiders and follow them into the lower realms, this would be a very regrettable thing. Therefore, we must contemplate the profound meaning of these scriptural proofs. Although the virtuous and negative karma created now won't immediately manifest results, they are at all times unfailing in the slightest. Once conditions come together, one will inevitably reap what one sows and experience retribution. So some karma cannot possibly be like cutting the body with a knife and immediately producing blood. The virtuous or negative karma you create today, immediately, instantly manifesting karmic results is impossible. I have repeatedly used the analogy of farmers planting crops before. When farmers plant crops, they need a period of time before the crops can ripen. When students study after you graduate, the results of all the books you studied before will gradually manifest. Gradually you pass the civil service exam, become a teacher or doctor. Finally you realize, oh, when I studied before, it was actually useful for me personally and for people. This is a causal relationship. But this kind of causal relationship, any causal relationship does not exist at the same time. If they existed at the same time, according to Madhyamaka and Buddhist logic, this would be a simultaneous cause and effect relationship, which is impossible. So some karma can ripen in this very lifetime, some karma can ripen in the next life, some karma in the life after that. Some karma only ripens after hundreds of years, tens of thousands of years later, or even tens of millions of years later. So we must study these profound principles of karma. If we don't study them, I think our environment and surrounding friends are too complex and too adverse. Due to these conditions, it's very possible that the sunlight of my right view will be obscured and veiled by the dark clouds of the surrounding environment. After being veiled, one cannot see the truth clearly. This is possible. So, the Sutra of 100 Actions also says, the karma of sentient beings is not destroyed even after 100 kalpas. When conditions gather, the fruit will definitely ripen. We often use this quote. Any karma of sentient beings actually cannot be exhausted for no reason, even after 100 kalpas. The good and evil karma you created before will not be destroyed. Once the conditions gather, this karmic result will definitely ripen. Previously, when I was translating the Sutra of 100 Actions, I didn't find this verse in the Tibetan version at that time, but many treatises also quote it. Perhaps the Sutra of 100 Actions has different versions. There are also other sources. For example, it's also in the Mulasarvastivada Vinaya. I see that the content in Chinese is the same, but the translation method seems a bit different. In Chinese it says, even after 100 kalpas, the karma created will not perish. When causes and conditions meet, one will personally receive the karmic result. The content should be the same, just with different wording, different translation methods. Therefore, we should think about this principle. Truly, any good or evil karma will never be exhausted in between. On this point, when we were young, we indeed had this right view, and because we had right view when young, now I also have no doubts about this aspect. This might also be a kind of innate right view of mine, but among the people around me, or some individuals I encounter, including some new generation Tibetans, some of them also develop doubts about the principle that cause and effect is infallible. But this kind of doubt is unreasonable hesitation because they don't understand this principle, so they still develop hesitation. Just like a person who doesn't understand agriculture thinks, oh, after planting this seed, will it produce fruit? Does the seed really have the ability to produce its fruit, having such doubts? Of course, as a farmer, you know that this seed, if it hasn't been damaged by fire or flooded by water or other adverse conditions, a good seed, as long as conditions are complete, its karmic result will ripen. For those who understand farming, there would be no doubt. So in this world, I also require today's young people to definitely study the especially important and profound truths of Buddhism. Of course, some young people think that grammar, writing, poetics, singing, dancing, these are all very important. They focus their attention and specialization on general academic fields. Of course, this is not unacceptable either. Broadly speaking, if we want to attain Buddhahood, we need to master all the 5 sciences and 10 sciences. But from another perspective, human life is very short, indeed very short. In our short life, if you want to master numerous scientific and technological knowledge and understand various kinds of worldly knowledge, you may not have that much time. In our short life, for our own liberation from life and death, especially for all future lives, we must obtain the Dharma that is truly beneficial to ourselves. If we don't obtain it, when you're dying, you'll truly feel regret. Some time ago, a leader from a nearby county said that several years ago she had a very auspicious connection with our academy and has been studying the Dharma ever since. I can see that her understanding and all aspects are quite good. She insisted on seeing me to ask about some Dharma principles, so I arranged this time for her. When she first came to the academy and passed through the academy's main gate, she developed especially strong faith in His Holiness and the Dharma. That night she had a dream. This dream, because nowadays some people often tell lies, but I see this person is very honest, probably not lying. What dream did she have? She said at night she met her teacher, and the teacher told her, "You have now encountered such a good teacher and Dharma. Why don't you study well? Later when you want to study, the Dharma may not be available." This one sentence, when she later truly contemplated its meaning, had a tremendous impact on her life, on the direction of her life. This is what she said at the time. I think each and every one of us perhaps has different paths for our karmic connection with studying Buddhism, but generally speaking, I often think this way. We now have very good conditions. When we want to study the Dharma, we have the Dharma. Buddhism is also present, and we've basically encountered some enlightened spiritual teachers. These conditions far exceed all kinds of worldly conditions. Now many people say, I've encountered very good worldly business opportunities, or I've encountered good colleagues, good departments, good work units. Many people especially long for these. But I feel that from a long-term perspective, considering all future lives, studying Buddhism is indeed very important. If in this very life we don't make a good start in creating virtue and abandoning evil, we don't know when we'll be able to encounter the Dharma. If we don't encounter the Dharma and forever sink in the ocean of suffering, would you be willing? I feel that any sentient being would probably be unwilling, but being unwilling doesn't help. The net of karma is indeed vast. So some of us, really, when we finally want to avoid this karma, we have no way. When karmic forces truly manifest before you, if you want to avoid them, when their karmic results ripen, there's truly no way. Even if the Buddha comes before you, some fixed karma cannot be reversed. So in the Vinaya, I remember there's a scriptural authority that says, inconceivable karmic forces, though one wishes to distance oneself, will inevitably pull you along. When karmic results ripen, seeking to escape, one will ultimately find it hard to break free. This means these inconceivable karmic forces, though you want to distance yourself from them, you have no way. If you created this karma before, though you don't want to experience this karmic result, you have no choice. Once conditions ripen, no matter how you try to avoid it, you have no way. It will definitely ripen upon yourself. So sometimes, no matter what we do, we find it strange. No matter how we try to escape, we can't escape. We keep facing it with no way to avoid it. This can also be said to be a true karmic connection from past lives. We cannot but acknowledge this kind of karmic connection. So here, Rigdzin Jigme Lingpa, in his Treasury of Precious Qualities, also says this: though the golden Garuda soaring high in the sky may temporarily not reveal its shadow, it is never separate from its body. When conditions gather, it will definitely appear. This teaching is explained below. For example, when a golden Garuda spreads its wings and soars in the high sky, its shadow does not appear. When it's especially high, the shadow does not appear. But it's not that there is no shadow. At that time, is it that its shadow doesn't exist? No, it's not. This analogy is very good. Finally, no matter where it lands, its dark shadow will immediately appear there. Similarly, the good or evil karma we create, though its karmic results may not appear immediately with instant consequences, ultimately it's impossible for them not to fall upon oneself. This karmic result is temporary. For example, if you kill a sentient being today, you may not feel anything immediately. If you harm someone today, you may not necessarily feel anything immediately. But generally speaking, when a bird lands on the ground, its shadow appears along with it. This we can also often discover. So creating karma doesn't necessarily have immediate consequences. Immediately experiencing suffering or immediately experiencing happiness is impossible, but you should realize that when you do good deeds, someday, the karmic result of this good deed will definitely make you happy. If you create evil karma, someday it will definitely make you suffer. There's absolutely no question about this. Also, I remember in the Sutra of Sublime Dharma of Clear Recollection, another analogy is used. Like a bird tied with a rope, though it flies far, it will be pulled back. Sentient beings tied by the rope of karma are just the same. This means, for example, a rope ties up a bird. Though this bird flies far away because a long rope has tied you up, you can't fly to very high places and will eventually land. Similarly, the rope of karma, the rope of good and evil karma, ties sentient beings tightly. You also cannot escape to very far places. Once, no matter what, after some time passes, you will experience karmic results in this world. Some sentient beings may experience karmic results only after a very long time, while some may experience them immediately. Some, because they encountered what I just mentioned, like burnt seeds. Or as mentioned in the Song of Enlightenment, after enlightenment, all karma is completely destroyed. Some don't need to be experienced at all, some are experienced slightly. Various situations will occur. Not only in our Tibetan areas are there many wonderful stories. Some time ago I saw a sutra called the Supplement to the Buddhist Canon. In the Supplement to the Buddhist Canon, there's specifically a record of pointing to the moon. The record of pointing to the moon tells a story often used in Han areas. The plot details of this story are slightly different. This story probably comes from what was then a Song dynasty tale. A Song dynasty master called Wen Tonghui, when he was young, was a novice monk. Later in the monastery, he often washed basins and bowls, doing such service work. While serving, someone probably put something unclean there. Because of this matter, he became dissatisfied, and for this reason struck the person on the head. As a result, this was probably karma manifesting, and very quickly the person died under his hands. After the death, this monk was also very frightened. This incident occurred at what seemed to be called Baiyun Temple in Henan. Then he left and went to Zongqi Temple at Mount Wutai. There he probably stayed for more than 20 years. After more than 20 years, some historical accounts say he later became enlightened, while some don't say this very clearly, just that he became a great abbot there. One day at noon, he told his disciples below, "A karmic connection from 20 years ago, a case will be resolved today. It will manifest today. So today, no matter what happens, you'd better not move or speak. You should let it follow its natural course." After this, he kept waiting in the monastery. After a while, some soldiers came, a general leading some soldiers. Among them was a foot soldier who, when he saw that master, inexplicably became especially angry and prepared to shoot an arrow at him. At that time, he was dissuaded by people nearby and put it down. After putting it down, he also felt it was somewhat strange. He said, "Why does anger naturally arise when I see you, and I very much want to kill you? What's the reason?" Finally, the old monk said, "I should understand this situation. We have a negative karmic connection from past lives." Then the foot soldier said, "Then why can't I remember? I don't know." He said, "You've forgotten because you've passed through 2 lifetimes, but I haven't passed through 2 lifetimes. In this one lifetime, I still remember clearly." Then he began to speak. "Debts must be repaid with money. Lives must be repaid with lives. You can now act freely. You need not doubt. You can kill me." But when he said this, the soldier still didn't kill him. Then the old monk told him about their past life experience. In his past life, the old monk was this present life. Well, not really an old monk, but this abbot. Finally, he asked him, "You'd better kill me. I killed you before." After hearing this monk's teaching, he gained some realization from within his heart. When he had some realization, not only did he not kill, but he recited a famous verse from Han areas. "Mutual revenge, when will it end? Kalpa after kalpa entangled. Is this merely coincidental? Better to resolve it together with the Master. Now standing here, I'll go to the western heaven. He spoke such a verse. The meaning is, there's no need for mutual revenge. When will it ever end? Kalpa after kalpa entangled. If we keep entangling each other life after life, this is not a simple coincidental matter. If someone keeps entangling with you, there's definitely a relationship with past lives. Better today with the Master to resolve our former enmity. Now I'll transform standing here. After he finished speaking, this soldier was indeed a person of sharp faculties and immediately transformed standing there. After he transformed standing there, Master Wen Tonghui shaved his corpse's head and changed his clothes. That master also spoke a verse himself, but I can't particularly explain the meaning of his verse. What did he say? 33 years drifting made several transformations. Who knew that meeting today would be a change from the former obstacle? The general meaning is, in my 33 years of wandering through life, I've undergone several transformations. Who knew that today I would encounter the person I killed before, and before my eyes things would change, no need for mutual revenge anymore. Today, in such a brief time, we mutually resolved our past life's negative karmic connection. After he finished writing this verse, he put down his brush, sat in meditation, and passed away. From this story, we can also see that indeed these karmic connections from our past lives, some people become very angry upon seeing each other. Some people in this very life are harmed by others for no apparent reason. Now many lay people in the world often say, I owed you in a past life. When quarreling, they also often say, I really have no choice. I can only endure it. I owed you in a past life. This can really be said. If someone truly harms you for no reason, and in this life you haven't done anything to wrong them, but they keep harming you or insulting you, perhaps there's a certain relationship with past lives. This kind of relationship, whether in conventional terms or in the world, we must definitely acknowledge. Not only us ordinary beings, I think there should be some here, not only us ordinary beings, but even noble beings, will also, in their manifestations, experience karmic results. Even the Buddha and Arhats who have eliminated all karmic obscurations still need to experience their karmic results. How much more so for us, these inferior ordinary beings? We people really have no need to speak big words. I'm not restricted by karmic forces. I can create evil karma casually, smoking, drinking, killing, and so forth. This is indeed very frightening. Some people do this because they lack right view and are too ignorant. If they had even a little wisdom, I think they wouldn't do this. Just like in our world, a person who understands the law even a little cannot easily kill someone, but those who don't understand the law and don't care, such ignorant people also do many meaningless things in the world. So here a story about the Buddha is told. This story is actually detailed in the Akotara Agama. There's also this story in the Dhammapada Sutra of Parables. Looking at the story that Patrul Rinpoche uses here, in the past, King Virudaka of Shravasti, Virudaka refers to the Crystal King, led his army to attack the Sakya Clan in Kapilavastu, where the Sakya Clan lived. At that time, he brutally massacred 80,000 people of the Sakya Clan. At the same time, Buddha Shakyamuni at that time, you all know this story has already been told. When King Virudaka's army truly came, the Buddha had already gone 3 times to dissuade them, but finally there was no way. Later, Arhats also went to persuade them, but later there was really no way. Finally, war broke out, and the 80,000 troops of the Sakya clan were immediately annihilated. What was the past life karmic connection? The Buddha told his disciples. The disciples asked, what karmic connection is this? Why did so many people of the Sakya clan all die today, and just at this time you also manifested a headache? That day, the Buddha had already attained Buddhahood, but his head was especially painful, as if being pressed by Mount Sumeru or struck with stones. Especially painful. What was the reason? Many disciples didn't understand. The Buddha had already eliminated all afflictions, karmic obscurations, and suffering. How could he still manifest illness after becoming Buddha? What was the reason? Then the Buddha explained the past karmic connection. He said, in the past, the people of the Sakya clan were fishermen by the river. At that time, some stories don't tell it this way, there appeared an especially great famine. At this time, among all the people, for example, 1 pound of gold was equivalent to 1 pound of rice. When people were especially hungry, there was no choice. Gold was equivalent to grain. At this time, most became fishermen, catching fish by the river every day, netting fish, fishing. They caught large quantities of fish and ate them. One day, they caught 2 large fish. Without killing them immediately, they tied them to a post. Those 2 large fish, having left the water, thrashed and jumped on the dry land. They couldn't help but think to themselves, although those fish were animals, they could still think this way in their hearts: we are innocently being killed by these people. May we, in the future, also innocently kill them. Actually, sometimes now when we see fishermen, when we see those beings who kill every day in the markets, they're also very pitiful. In the future, they themselves are material for hell, being killed every day themselves. Sometimes, compared to the beings they kill, these people seem even more pitiful, because these people will later repay again and again with their own lives, while those beings they killed may have their suffering end after once or twice. It's like this. So, at that time they thought, may we in the future innocently kill them. Due to this karmic result, the 2 large fish were reborn as King Virudaka, that is, King Virudaka, and another minister Matrapakara, also called the mother-harming minister. The other fish that were killed were reborn as their armies. King Virudaka and their armies today completely annihilated the people of the Sakya clan. The Buddha said this way: I was then born as a fisherman's child, said to be 8 years old. At that time, probably the most mischievous fisherman's child at 8 years old, after seeing those 2 fish experiencing immeasurable suffering, unable to bear the unbearable suffering of dryness and thrashing about, I couldn't help but start laughing. Seeing these 2 fish constantly turning over, jumping around, some stories say this was by the seaside, thrown on the dry, sandy beach. At this time, those large fish were definitely thrashing and turning there. Seeing this, the child probably found it funny and laughed. Due to this karmic force, I experienced today's headache. If I had not yet obtained such perfect merit of Buddhahood, today I would also have been killed by King Virudaka's army. So, although the Buddha attained Buddhahood, he still experienced this kind of karmic force. So we see that even rejoicing in others' killing. I remember very deeply when 9/11 happened, I heard that in several work units some young people started saying, good, America deserves this, minus rejoicing. In that case, this karmic force is inconceivable. Although it's a brief action, you see even the Buddha, when he was in the causal stage, just laughed when seeing others suffer, but when he finally became Buddha, he still experienced this. So when we see others killing, if we rejoice, praise, or mentally engage in... Why do I say this? I myself sometimes really feel that my karma is definitely very heavy. In beginningless samsara, I've definitely committed all kinds of karma. Killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, worthless chatter, lying, wrong views, harmful intentions, anger. I've probably created all kinds of karma. Not to mention all future lives, just the karma I can remember from childhood to now is still very extensive. So if I don't hurry to confess now, I really may not have enough time, I must confess. The karmic results that the Buddha experienced, and other Buddhist sutras, for example, in the sutra on the 10 causes, there are also quite a few stories of the Buddha experiencing karmic results. Previously, the prostitute Sundar also slandered the Buddha because the prostitute Sundar had many men who liked her under her influence. Later, after the Buddha established the Sangha, they all went to ordain. She was very dissatisfied with this behavior. Later, when the non-Buddhists saw that the Dharma was relatively flourishing, they began to use this prostitute to spread rumors everywhere, saying, the Buddha had a relationship with her, she was pregnant, and so forth. They spread this news to the king. The king was prepared to specially send people to investigate this matter. At this time, the non-Buddhists were a bit afraid and first killed that prostitute, thinking that if the source of this news was cut off, it might be better. But later, when the king investigated carefully again, it turned out this was slander and rumors that the non-Buddhists and the prostitute had created together. Later, the Buddha said, this is because in the past there was a person who also had relations with a prostitute. After killing her, he threw the corpse near a Pratyeka Buddha. Due to this karmic connection, even after I became Buddha, I still received this karmic result. Also, as we've mentioned before, the Buddha and 500 arhats for 90 days consumed horse fodder, the kind of food that horses eat. The reason for this was that when a Tathagata appeared in the past, a Brahmin saw the Tathagata being offered food and developed jealousy. He began cursing them. These bold Shramanas might as well eat horse fodder. Then he demanded that his 500 followers say this same phrase. Because of this reason, the Buddha and Arhats still experienced this karmic result after attaining accomplishment. Also, previously there was Sinka. I don't know if I've told this story before. She also deliberately slandered the Buddha. Then on her own belly, she tied a very large bowl with ropes. Then she told many people that the Buddha had relations with her. She was already pregnant and about to give birth, and needed butter and milk, going everywhere to ask for food. Later, Indra could no longer tolerate this behavior, so he transformed into a mouse and gradually entered her clothing, then bit through the rope, and suddenly the bowl fell to the ground. Many people, some Buddhists, mockingly said, "Good, your child has already been born. How wonderful." Actually, the Buddha also explained this karmic connection. This was when he was in the causal stage, when Buddha all-conquering appeared in the world. There was a monk called Invincible and a monk called Always Joyful. Always Joyful and Invincible often received offerings from a female patron called Illusory. This patron would often go to make offerings to that monk Invincible, who had eliminated afflictions, while Always Joyful, who had afflictions, often received no offerings. Later, he developed very bad thoughts and began slandering, saying that Illusory and Invincible had this and that kind of impure relationship. Due to this slander, the Buddha said, "Even after I became Buddha, I would still receive slander from others." So in our world, indeed, whether it's slander or others harm toward you for no apparent reason, these are all things that perhaps in this very life you can't remember having any grudges between you, but with past lives there's definitely a cause and karmic connection. As Buddhists, we must definitely understand this kind of cause and effect. When His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche was alive, he earnestly taught all disciples indeed, always explaining profound principles of karmic cause and effect. For a long time, this kind of virtuous mind kept reverberating in my heart. Due to this influence in my life, whether encountering adverse or favorable conditions, whatever happens, I think, oh, I know this is karma from past lives. Naturally, I come up with such understanding. Here, there's also, furthermore, a sandalwood thorn pierced the Buddha's foot. This was also the karmic result of killing the black spearman when he was a bodhisattva in the past, but some sutras say it wasn't the black spearman, but another merchant. It's said that when the Buddha was in the causal stage, he also became a merchant and another merchant. Each leading 500 people went to the ocean to retrieve treasures. When they got there, they obtained all kinds of goods and jewels. One merchant wanted to return, while the other didn't want to return. Later, a goddess said, "You should return quickly, otherwise in 7 days there will be a flood, and the entire treasure island will be submerged." The other person didn't want to believe this. Later, a demoness appeared saying it wouldn't happen. Anyway, the person who wanted to return earlier had already prepared all the boats. After preparing them, 7 days later, the flood indeed occurred. When the flood occurred, because he had already prepared, when he put all the treasures in the boat preparing to escape, the other person wouldn't let him, and they fought each other. Later, one person was killed with a spear. Actually, the one who killed him was the present Buddha. Later, in many lifetimes, he experienced this karmic result. When he attained the path and became Buddha, finally a thorn kept following the Buddha. The Buddha went to the heaven of the 33, to the human realm, everywhere, and that thorn kept following. Later it had to pierce the Buddha's foot. At that time, the Buddha requested all disciples to leave, otherwise they would all be unable to accept it. When all the disciples left, this thorn flew to the Buddha's foot and drew fresh blood. When some arhats saw this, they fainted. Later the Buddha said, "This is because in past lives I killed someone with a spear. Due to this karmic result of killing, even after I became Buddha, I still experienced this. This is nothing strange. Even the Buddha with perfect realization and enlightenment qualities also experiences karmic results. Of course, some scriptures say this is about definitive and provisional meanings. There are various explanations. But we won't discuss these explanations for now. They're unnecessary and not our domain. The Buddha indeed manifested illness in history and manifested experiencing such diseases. Also, the Buddha's entire skeletal structure was painful. This was also because in a past life when he was a doctor, someone kept not repaying kindness. So later he deliberately gave him the wrong medicine, bad medicine, that caused death. Later, the Buddha also experienced bodily and skeletal pain. There are many such stories. So we must definitely know that whatever karma a person creates, its fruit is exactly the same as the seed planted. As said in the Ekottara Agama, creating evil or good follows what a person habitually practices. Like planting 5 grains, each obtains its corresponding fruit. This means whether creating good karma or evil karma, this will appear in a person's habitual tendencies. One will definitely experience the karmic result. Just like when people plant 5 grains, the fruits that appear cannot possibly be mixed together. If you plant peas, it's impossible for wheat or corn to appear. So if you create good karma, it's impossible for suffering to appear. If you create evil karma, it's impossible for happiness to appear. So why do some people feel especially afraid when creating evil karma? This person is very pitiful. They will definitely experience suffering later. When creating good karma, seeing them brings joy. Why? Oh, this good karma is a good seed that will definitely bring happy karmic results. So everyone must definitely have this profound concept of cause and effect. Saying it verbally is useless. Actually, from your heart and behavior, you must definitely have a concept and habit of discernment. This is very important. Otherwise, we humans sometimes live in an upside-down society. It's indeed very frightening. Looking at people in big cities, everyone is for themselves, creating all kinds of evil karma for their own sake. When karmic results ripen in the future, it will be very frightening. Well, regarding this aspect, I hope everyone present should be cautious at all times without fail. I'll stop here today. Am I also experiencing karmic results?
Om